Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You're all welcome to my YouTube channel. This is a channel where we discuss topical issues of concern to both young and old so that we can learn and educate ourselves and learn on how to protect ourselves. Perchance we encounter such a situation. You're all welcome. The topic today is on sexual harassment. This issue has been trending in Nigeria for the past 2-3 weeks. The parties are in court. We cannot discuss a matter that is in court. That will be sub judice. So we have left the court to deal with the matter. But here we can learn one or two things about sexual harassment and how to protect ourselves. I want to define sexual harassment as a behavior or character that you exhibit towards another person that is unwelcome. If we're exhibiting a behavior to another person and the person does not appreciate it, I think you should stop. The key here is unwelcome attention. The key here is unwelcome behavior towards another person, whether male or female. I want to say here that sexual harassment is a humiliating issue. It humiliates the victim. The victim is made to feel that the only value he brings to the work environment is his or her physical attributes, and it has nothing to do with the person's intelligence, with his professionalism, with what he or she is contributing to organizational objectives. It's just the physical attributes. That is not acceptable in modern society. You should not accept it anywhere. No man, no woman should accept being treated like that. The International Labour Organization, in fact, in their publication, expresses the fact that sexual harassment is a form of gender discrimination, which is manifested in unequal power relationship between men and women in the workplace. The power is tilted towards the men, which they exercise over the women. Because in many of our states in Nigeria, the workplace is still dominated by men. The Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women 2008 urges government and state parties to make the workplace a fair environment for men and women where they can work without fear of favor, free from molestation, free from sexual harassment, where everybody can achieve their purpose in life and the purpose for which they're employed and achieve their organizational objective as well as individual objective, individual growth and development. Here I want to state some of the behavior that constitutes sexual harassment. It can be touched in a way you don't like. It can be sending suggestive messages to you. Somebody can be writing email to you that is very suggestive. It can be looks that you don't appreciate. It can be maybe the person is toasting you, inviting you for a date, and you have said no several times, and the person does not listen to no. He doesn't hear no. He continues, harassing you and making your life uncomfortable in the workplace. Such behavior is not acceptable. You should take the necessary step. You should take the necessary action. And first of all, personally, I will want you to call the person to ask the person that, because sometimes Some of these behaviors, the the people is, the people harassing, they don't even know they are harassing somebody. They just be they are being friendly. So there should be difference between friendliness and sexual harassment. And some people don't even know that they are sexually harassing their colleague. When you discuss with the person and the person refuses to stop, that is when you take a formal action and report to the human resources department of your organization for necessary investigation so that the person can face justice. Sometimes, if it's in a social gathering or informal organization or it's somebody in your colleague that you are friendly with, it is better you call the person's attention to the behavior that is making you to feel uncomfortable. And if the person refuses to heed to your complaint, it's better you remove yourself from such a relationship, remove yourself from such a gathering so that you don't put yourself in danger of being molested or being harassed. Sexual harassment, it is difficult to be it's difficult in proving the case unless you have evidence. So it is advisable if you have evidence, if you have written, if you have text messages, if you have voice notes, it's very important for you to keep them because that will be your evidence. Because in most cases, it's your word against the other person. And since the people that are going to advocate are not there, they just give the person the benefit of the doubt. And most times, people don't report. They just take it in their stride and take it as their cross. And sometimes, people succumb. Some of these young ladies whose career is just beginning, they succumb so that they can move ahead. This is not acceptable. You must stand up and be counted. And I dare say that there have been few cases reported that have been treated in the National Industrial Court in Nigeria. The National Industrial Court is mandated to advocate on issues of gender discrimination and sexual harassment in Nigeria. And they've done some cases that I will cite subsequently. But I wish to notify us that in a few cases, some people have falsely accused other people of sexually harassing them. If there's proper investigation, there must be proper investigation. And if such allegation is false, the perpetrator must face the music. Appropriate penalty must be meted out because it is not fair to accuse somebody falsely of sexual harassment because it tarnishes the image and reputation of somebody. This is this should not be acceptable. So it's a big responsibility. If you are being sexually harassed, you try and get your evidence because the evidence is what will prove your case at the end of the day. But in Nigeria, I like to cite a case that has been taken to the National Industrial Court. It has been proven and the perpetrator has been penalized. Ibukun Adetoro, ACIPM, in his publication on sexual harassment, cases are real at the workplace, time to stand and take action. According to him, according to his findings, he said sexual harassment, he found out that in Nigeria, that sexual harassment occurs across board among female employees. Between 19 to 39 years of age, 64% claim to have been sexually harassed. 46.7% of women he interviewed claim to have been touched inappropriately. In Europe, in his findings too, he found out that 42% of graduates claim to have been harassed in the workplace. So we know that it's not in Nigeria alone, it's not in Africa. It's something that happened all over the world. In any environment that there is human interaction, there's bound to be sexual harassment because we have some of our species, some of our people who cannot control their libido. And the society must hold them accountable. They must not be allowed to get away with it. Mr. Ibukun Adetoro, ACIPM, cited a case in Nigeria in which the judgment was passed in 2016. This is a case of Pastor Mrs. Abimbola Patricia Yakubu versus Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria and ANO in a suit number NICN/LA/673/2013 judgment delivered on November 24, 2016. The National Industrial Court of Nigeria awarded damages of 5 million naira only against the second defendant for sexual harassment. So we see now that in Nigeria, perchance where a few cases are being in court, and this is a very important case, a landmark case, that when you have your evidence, sexual harassment cases can be proved in court if you have evidence. And we should not allow such behavior to permeate our society. Offenders should be called out. Offenders should be shamed. Offenders should be disgraced. So what can the organization do? I think first of all, corporate organization, whether in the public or private sector, even in smaller organization, in the informal sector, once you have one or two people, you have more than one person in your employ, it's good to create awareness on what constitutes sexual harassment and the boundaries that people should go to in their interaction. You can be friendly without being overly in the face of the other person. You don't have to invade somebody's privacy. You don't have to touch somebody suggestively. You don't have to make lewd jokes. Those are offending behaviors that should not be tolerated in the workplace. So, for dissemination of information, sensitization, and rules and laws that guide the relationship within an organization and properly implemented is germane, is key for us to eradicate this malaise in society. I want to speak to the victims too. If you have been sexualized, if you have been harassed, and you have spoken to the person and you refuse to desist, it's time you take it up formally. Don't die in silence. When you take it up formally, make sure you get your evidence. You report to the Human Resources Department of your organization. If it's a smaller corporation or it's a one-man business or it's a smaller organization, you report to the chief executive. But if it is chief executive that is harassing you, then you know what to do. Maybe it's time to look for another job because you cannot continue to compromise your virtue, your integrity, because you are looking for a job. Everybody is entitled to their dignity.